What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Break Room, brought to you by The Life of Gaming. Water cooler conversation in your face.
I'm using this brand new VR set, and it feels like that water was right in my face.
Amazing. So you're all technologically advanced now, and you're ready to roll. So
I'm
that's
actually
good.
recording this podcast from 50 years in the future.
That's amazing.
So
That is amazing. Well, I
pretty
guess my
awesome.
question, 50 years in the future, does GameStop still exist?
GameStop does not exist
Oh,
50 years in
wow.
the
Okay.
future.
Okay. Well, today on The Break Room, we wanted to talk about not just GameStop, but just game sales in general, and kind of like how they're heading more towards digital. Because recently, an article has been put out by many different places. I actually have it up on USA Today right now. They said that GameStop shares have slid more than 12% since Friday, after the store announced that the drop in fourth quarter sales, and they're going to close over 150 of their 7,500 stores, which doesn't sound like much. It's about 3 or 4%. But a lot of people are saying that this could be the beginning of the end for GameStop and for retailers selling hard copies of video games.
Dun,
Because
dun, dun.
as you know, a lot of people are just going full digital. I mean, we have a lot of indie games. Most of those are fully digital. They don't need to be in stores. Some of them are, right? But with that, we're seeing a lot of kickback, especially with Nintendo Switch, because obviously it's going to cost them more to put it on the cartridge versus a disc. So most Nintendo Switch games, especially for these indie games, there's a $10 price hike on that. So things like Rhyme and some other things coming out, it's now going to be $10 more. But if we went to an all-digital future, like a lot of people are suggesting is going to happen sooner rather than later, that extra production cost wouldn't be there. It would bring the price of video games down and things like that. So, Chris, it's hard for me to take you seriously with that, that thing on your face.
I can tell you that I have been to the future.
Okay.
And I know the answer.
And what is that?
The answer is neither digital nor physical.
Okay. So what does that mean? How do you get your gaming fix?
All right, so here's the thing. I think that I think the future of games is actually streaming.
Okay.
And there's not a realistic system in place to move all digital as much as we want to. You can, with a PC or even with an Xbox or a PlayStation 4 right now, by plugging in an external hard drive and downloading all of your games. But we haven't even really started seeing 4K games yet.
Sure.
So when the Scorpio launches this year, and Pro of course can up-res to 4K, and I think it can play some native 4K games when they come, but we haven't really started seeing those games yet, like the games built from the ground up in 4K. So if you can imagine a game like Gears of War 4, for example, which is not in 4K, being
HDR, but not 4K.
Yes, it's not in 4K. It's HDR. So that game just by itself is sitting at like 60 gigs, and that's just one. That's one single game.
Right.
You could probably. 4K is 4 times the resolution of a regular game. So even if you doubled that size, you're looking at over 100 gigs just for one game. And so if you have a 1 terabyte, you're looking at a future where you could maybe only have 10 or 12 games downloaded at a time.
Sure.
Like that's not a realistic.
We call that the Nintendo Switch problem.
Yeah, exactly. And Switch is another great example.
Sure.
We don't have to get in this right now, but Virtual Console, which really could, if Nintendo just decided to never make another game ever, they could sustain their business just on releasing Virtual Console games. And the way you do that is through what we've been saying over and over again, a Netflix-like service. You pay a monthly service, you can browse the store, you can stream any game that you want to play. Now, those games are easy to do because those games don't require a lot of bandwidth. The games that we're talking about now are too big to do that. So we haven't solved that problem.
Right, because I was going to say,
that's the future.
With that, like you're talking about 4K and streaming 4K, my internet, it's not amazing, but it's the fastest I can get in my area because we just got upgraded to new internet. Because originally I was pulling like 28 down, like 2 up But now I'm getting around 70 down and like 10 up, which for me, I mean, that's amazing. That's
great.
fantastic. Yeah. However, for 4K streaming on Netflix, that's like the bare minimum what you need to stream 4K.
Yeah.
So just thinking about that for myself, trying to stream 4K and then, worrying about input lag and all that kind of stuff, because I've got the bare minimum. And I know a lot of people across the country, especially like me in small town USA, they still have that slow internet. There are people around here, because plus it's a lot of farmland around here too. It's a lot of DSL still, right? So they're pulling down like 10 down, like 1 up if they're lucky. So that's the only thing where I see, at least on my end, a giant hole in the streaming idea. Like, sure, Nintendo NES, Super NES games, I could see that, no problem. But when you're looking at, let's say, Mass Effect Andromeda 2 or whatever it's going to be, let's say it's on Scorpio or whatever the next PlayStation's going to be, PlayStation 4 Plus Ultra or whatever,
Sure.
Streaming those 4K games, it might be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, so you're addressing a problem that hasn't been a problem because we don't do it yet, right?
Sure, but we're now starting to enter that door, right?
Sure.
Now we got 4K streaming on Netflix, 4K streaming on Hulu and Amazon. Well, I think it's on Hulu. I know it's on Amazon, and I mean it's there.
Yeah, but so I hear what you're saying. Small town USA,
Yep.
It's a big problem, but I will tell you that the companies are not concerned with that. There are a number of Xbox One games that even if you own the disc and you put it into the console, it will make you spin and connect to the internet to verify that you are the owner before it plays that game. Yeah. So they're being less and less concerned with small town America, and that's unfortunate, but that's just the way that the business is progressing. Sure. But just like you said, you haven't really ever had internet this fast before because it hasn't been available, and It's available now. You are going to see things like what is it, Google Fiber, or what is Google?
Oh yeah, sure. I think it's Google Fiber.
I mean, again, you understand we're talking about 5-10 years in the future.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is that is the answer to this problem. GameStop will not exist forever because I don't believe that physical media will exist forever. Sure. I was actually I bought my daughter a record player for her birthday last year, and I went. I was at Target and I was just like, well, I'm sure maybe they have some sort of vinyl. Let me just go see what they have. So I go to the section of Target, and I literally had to ask the person where the music section was because I couldn't find it. Sure. And it was just one side of one row, and that's all the CDs that they had. They had no vinyl at all, but that was all the CDs they had. Sure. And I remember growing up, like you would go and buy cassette singles for like $3.99, and there was just like 1 or 2 songs on it. You're like, this is my jam, and our
buying
world
that Sugar
is
Ray, right?
exactly, yeah. So like it's changed. Our world has changed, and so music is much smaller data, very much easier to do that with. But then I think about Netflix, and if you would have told me, well, has it been 5 years, 6 years? It hasn't been long that they've been streaming, because when I started with Netflix, they would send DVDs to my house.
Yeah,
you're right. It's not more than 10 years for sure. It's not more than 10 years. So within the last 10 years,
look it up. Keep talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Please look it up when they went to all streaming. But when I first signed up for Netflix, it was right after we got married, and we got 2 DVDs, and they would send one to you in the mail, and you're like, oh, this is cool, and you'd put it back in the thing, and you'd drop it off in the mail, and you'd mail it back. Yeah. And then they started like this kind of pilot system of.
I got it. Okay, the company was established in 1997, so that's when it started, and let's see here, 2009. Let's see, that doesn't help. That just talked about when they started sending DVDs. Hold on. Keep going. Okay. I'll find
it. All right. So anyway, so it was the coolest thing to be able to get DVDs at that time. Right. And then they started, and I'll never forget, because it was with the Xbox 360.
Streaming became available in 2010.
2010. So we're looking at 7 years.
Nope. Sorry, that was Canada. Nope. 2007.
2007.
10
Okay,
years. It's been 10 years.
So 10 years. And the Xbox came out in 2006. The Xbox 360
Right.
came out in 2006. In 2007, right around that time, they launched the first app, and it was
Right.
horrible.
Yeah.
But I just
Yeah.
remember, like, it blew my mind 10 years ago when I booted up on my Xbox 360 and I'm watching these movies, and I'm
Sure.
like, this is the future.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about, oh man, I just have enough to do 4K,
Yeah.
and that was 10 years ago. It wasn't even a thing.
Right.
And so
Very
yeah. So
true, very true.
I agree with you. The answer is we are moving to a digital future, but I
Sure.
do think that digital future is going to be a streaming future at some point. It may be 10 years now in the future, but the way technology progresses, that's where we're going.
Sure. Well, I guess that brings up a whole nother question then. Because, well, I guess streaming is a great idea. Netflix streaming is awesome. But I think, was it Hulu or Amazon or one of the services offers something now where if you're not connected to the internet, or you know you're going somewhere where you're not going to have internet, you can download it on your computer. And you
Netflix
can watch
has
it.
that.
Right.
Yep.
Which is really, really cool. So I actually think that people with bandwidth caps, I mean, that's all over the place. People with Comcast, bandwidth caps are
Yeah.
like the thing that it's horrible, but it's there, right? And so I think there's a lot of people out there that won't be able to do streaming, right? But downloading, I think digital, like downloading, is going to be where it's at.
Yeah.
Because I think streaming will be available kind of like a GameFly service. But I think for people that want the best quality possible, they're going to download directly to their hard drive. But of course, you need bigger hard drives and things like that. So I kind of see it as a mixture of both, maybe. Because honestly, I still have Blu-rays, right? I got some 4K Blu-rays for Christmas because even though streaming's there on Amazon, I mean, I could stream in 4K. If I want the best quality possible, I have to have a copy with me, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're going to have the best sound, you're going to have the best picture. I mean, streaming is still going to have hiccups. And I don't know when we're going to get to the point where that won't be an issue.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think maybe a mixture of the two is probably what we're going to see. And for the people that want to plug up 2 or 3 external hard drives and want to have that experience, they could definitely do it. We've been talking about this with Switch. I don't mind sacrificing a little bit of quality for ease of use, so I wouldn't mind a game maybe running at 720, streaming it as opposed to 1080 while I'm if I downloaded it. But different people, again, that'll be up to people. What I do find interesting, I think that the first tell of this is going to be whenever a hardware manufacturer releases the first console without a disk drive.
Sure. Now, do you remember Xbox originally said they were going to do that, and there was major backlash for that?
There was. Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
So here's the important thing, and the reason they don't do that is because they want publishers to sell their hardware. But they're not going to sell hardware if they can't move software, because software is where they make money. So if you're like, hey, we're not going to send you any games, but we just want you to sell our hardware, and GameStop's absolutely going to say, we're not selling we're not going to push it, we're not going to talk about it, your console's not going to be there. And so that's why that hasn't happened. It is going to take somebody to step out of that mold. I don't know who or when. It'll probably end up being Nintendo, because that's just the company that marches to their own beat. And I actually, there was a slight moment when I thought the Switch may be that. When they talked about going to cartridge, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch just drops with absolutely no physical input.
Do you remember, because it's been a while, PlayStation tried that. Remember the PSP Go? It was a handheld.
That's right. Oh, I love that.
It was only digital, right?
That was such a cool.
So they took out the drive because it
hardware.
saves battery life, and everything else.
It
also think exactly. It was too soon. It happened. I know we talked in a previous break room about PlayStation spread too thin, things like that. But one thing that's really great about PlayStation, they take risks, right? And they don't always succeed. But I think another part of why people buy physical games, like one thing I do, right? If I know I'm going to get this game, but I'm like, I don't know if this is one I'm going to absolutely love and want to keep, I buy it physical because I know I can trade it in, right? I know some people are totally against trading it in, don't trade it in. But for myself, like if it's a game I know I'm gonna play, finish, and then never touch again, hey, I get maybe 50% of that money back, which isn't a
Yeah.
lot, right? But that means your overall sunken cost isn't as bad. So
Yeah.
maybe I get 20, $30 back on a $60 game.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
it's not a
so
lot, but I mean, at least you're getting something back, and I think that's part of the reason people are holding on to physical still.
yeah, I mean, an easy answer for that, which would never happen, but would just have like a licensed marketing
Sure.
marketplace where you could be like, oh, I'm done with the Legend, Zelda Breath of the Wild. I
Which
put
would never happen. But
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
know.
Go
I
ahead.
know it's bad. I'm done with RMX fast racing.
Sure.
I've unlocked all the cups. I'm good. I want to put this on the marketplace for $5.
Sure.
Anybody wants to buy my license to this game for $5? You can do it. And
Now, do you remember GameStop talked about possibly doing that at one point in time? They were going to
yeah.
resell digital codes, which really doesn't make any sense because digital codes, I mean, digital games don't really exist if you know, like in a physical form. So I'm not really sure how they would get around that.
Again, I mean, it's licensing. What you're buying is you're buying a license. So when you go on to Xbox Live or PSN or even the eShop and you say you buy Mass Effect Andromeda, what you're buying is a license. Just like if you went to Office 365 and bought a version of Office 365, they don't mail you like a
Right.
certificate for
Sure.
Office.
Sure.
They assign a license to your email ID, and that's what you have. And so as long as you have that license, you have the legal authority to access that software.
Sure.
If that license is ever invoked, whether it runs out or if you ever and that's why a lot of times it's hard for the whole conversion from one platform to another because you're licensing it for a system. If you buy the game on Xbox One, you are licensing it for the Xbox One platform.
Right.
And so if you want to move over to PlayStation 4, I mean, you have to relicense it for
You have to
that
buy
there.
it. Exactly. And that's kind of scary thinking about this all digital future though, because where's the line drawn to what you actually own?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, a company can come out and say, we don't want people to play our game anymore. We're totally revoking the license. And there's literally
Sure.
nothing you can do about it.
No,
because all you own is the license to play that for that time they allow you to play it. You don't even actually own it. So you're paying the $60 or whatever that game costs just to be able to have the license to play it for as long as that company allows you to play it.
Yeah,
So you don't technically own it anymore.
yeah, so and I know we probably need to wrap here pretty soon,
Sure.
but I will say Xbox is addressing this with the Xbox Game Pass.
Sure, sure.
In the fact that the answer to what you just said is exactly what I said at the beginning,
Right.
which is a streaming type service where whether you either stream the game or download it doesn't matter, but it is you're paying for a service that it gives you access to games as opposed to a game. So Netflix gets away with it because you're not buying, Star Wars Rogue One, you are buying the right to utilize a service, and that service just happens to have Star Wars Rogue One, so you get the ability to watch it
Right.
while you're there.
Now,
So that's
one,
the answer.
Sure. The one downside to that, though, like a Netflix or like any of these other services, they can put games up and take them down as they please, right? So let's say someone's playing. You're talking about Star Wars. Let's say Star Wars Battlefront 2, right? Let's say that comes out. People are loving it. Well, next month they're like, we don't want that up anymore. We need room for something else. They pull it down. That's it. You say, I want to play this game this month. Too bad. It's not there. So that is one downside to streaming service. Now, I will say, at one point, don't know how soon it's going to be. Maybe it's 10 years down the road. Maybe it's less. There's going to be a point, like you said, when there's going to be a console, there's going to be no physical disc drives. It's going to be gone. No cartridge drive, nothing. You have to go digital. It's your only choice.
Yep.
Because honestly, I'm thinking, I can't tell you the last time I bought a physical CD or book. I either get it on my Nook or I get it on my, on my MP3 player, my, whatever. That's where I put that stuff. And I don't even think about it. It's like not even a second thought because, especially with CDs and stuff, you can burn it onto a CD, take it in the car, put it in MP3 player. You have the right to do whatever you want with it, which is great. But I'm not to that point with video games yet. And I don't know if that's because CDs you get for $7 or $8, a book you get for $5. It's a cheaper purchase. Where video games you're paying $60 or more, depending on the collector edition or all the DLC or whatever it is. You're paying all this money for something that you don't even technically own all the rights to. So I mean, I guess, do you think that I guess to kind of tie off this whole conversation, how soon are video games going to go fully digital? Because right now they still sell physical books, they still sell physical CDs, but that audience is getting so small that digital is overtaking it. And I think video games are going to take the same route. It's going to be where people are still going to buy physical, but eventually digital is going to outpace the physical copies, and so eventually the physical will just fall off, right?
Sure.
How soon do you think that's going to take place?
So I agree. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get away from physical in some respect, because for the exact same reason, some people are going to want to have that ability, and sometimes just having something means a lot. I think about computers a lot.
Sure.
I was actually at church last week, and somebody came down to the to the sound booth, and
You're playing Switch?
to the I actually was. No, I came out of the sound booth to the iMac and was like, oh, hey, can we just put this up on the screen? I want to make sure it works. I'm like, and they handed me a DVD, and I'm like,
oh,
what do you think I'm gonna do with this? And they're like, well, can you just put it up? I'm like, no, this doesn't have a slot.
Yeah,
It's just
most
not
laptops
there.
don't come
yes,
with
it's just not there. And so I mean, we will get there. How soon is it going to happen? I would say I would not expect any hardware manufacturer to do it until at the earliest next gen.
Sure.
And that would actually be when I think it would come. I think that Microsoft is going to launch Scorpio in the fall, and I actually think that I think Microsoft will be the company that does this.
Okay.
And I think they launch Scorpio in the fall. I think it goes for 2 to 3 years, and then I think they wait and see when Sony gets ready to announce the PlayStation 5.
Yep.
And I think that they announce their brand new console, which will be a discless, service-based platform. And so that's again, that's pie in the sky. But I do think it's not. It won't be Scorpio generation. It will be. I think it will be the next generation.
Right. I completely agree. I think so too. But if you look at it through console life cycles, right? And I know some people are saying Scorpio, it gets a little, like the waters get a little muddy on if it's a new generation or not, because Microsoft says, no, it's still an Xbox One kind of, but developers are saying, no, this 100% is a new generation. It's too powerful not to be. But I agree. I think whatever comes after the Scorpio, depending on how, if it catches on or not, catches fire or whatever, that, let's say, long-term, 5 years, 6 years, right? Because that's how long normally, at least now, I mean, that's, 5 to 7 years roughly is around the console life cycle at the longest.
Yeah.
So I think less than 10 years, we're going to be fully digital. And that's just the way it is.
I agree. Yeah, and I think Sony is a hardware manufacturer, so they're going to want to make hardware specifically, and and they have a great partnership with retailers, especially coming off the PlayStation 4. Nintendo will always make hardware because they want to take full advantage of the games they want to make.
Sure.
Microsoft is a platform system. They are a services system. Microsoft is known for Windows. That is an operating system. So I believe that of the companies, I think Microsoft will be the first one to make that stand.
Right, and that's going to be absolutely awesome, because like right now, one thing I love about my Xbox is, if my wife's on the TV or whatever, of course, like with the Switch, it's portable, you can take it anywhere you want. But with my Xbox, I can still stream it to my PC, right?
That's right. Yep.
And right now, I don't have the bandwidth to stream it outside of my house. Right? But that'll come. It will. I'll be able to stream my Xbox games wherever I want. Because originally, on newer Windows tablets, you can stream your Xbox to those. I mean, you can stream your Xbox just about anywhere now, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's one really good thing about digital future. You can play it anywhere. So I'm super excited about that. But okay, guys, what do you think? I mean, are you still buying physical games? Are you buying digital games? How soon do you think we're going to have this digital future? Let us know in the comments down below. If you liked the video, make sure to comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it. We would absolutely love it. And make sure to reach out to us on Facebook and on Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod. We hope you enjoyed this wonderful episode of The Break Room. Water cooler conversation in your face. But until next time, guys, we are out.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this content from The Life of Gaming. If you like what you saw, be sure to subscribe down below. You can also catch our weekly podcast every Sunday on iTunes, SoundCloud, and the Google Play Store. You can find us on Twitter @LifeGamingPod and on Facebook. Until next time, we are out.